Howdy, this is Lemmy with RevZilla, here to talk to you today about Burly Fairings. You should be checking out a Burly Fairing for your bike if you're looking to change up the aesthetic of your bike, and maybe you also are hoping to get a teensy little bit of wind protection. We'll talk a little bit more about what you can expect out of these in just a moment. Now, you should know that Burly is making these really with a bent towards Harley-Davidson. There's no reason that these can't be fitted to a different motorcycle. Just keep in mind the proportions of these really are designed for HDs. They're going to work on just about anything from a 35mm front end right on up to a 49. It's going to cover probably 40 different years of Harley-Davidson. So whether you're on a Sporty or you're on a Dyna, or perhaps you're on an old shovel, something on here might actually look pretty good on your motorcycle simply because they're designed to work with them proportionally. Remember too that these are also designed for bikes with naked front ends. You need a stripped front end on there. So if you've got a fairing, if you've got glass, if you've got other stuff on your front end, obviously these aren't going to work without first moving those pieces. Installation on these kind of ranges in terms of difficulty. The actual mechanical install probably is going to be a difficult one or an easy two-bearder for most of you. There are some things too that could kick it into a three-beard. We'll talk about some of those factors in just a little bit. First though, let's talk about the fairings themselves. So you can see obviously we have a couple different styles up here. Again, none of these are made for any particular motorcycle. So really this is going to be an aesthetic choice for you. You can obviously see some of the differences here. Just moving left to right real quickly, you'll see we have the Outlaw fairing, we've got a standard touring in front of me, and over here we've got a cafe sport. Obviously each of these bringing their own flavor to the game. One of the things that should also be noted too is the touring fairing can actually be fitted with an optional tall shield. That is something you can throw on there if you do desire a little more wind protection, if you're trying to get some function out of these. I would say primarily what you're looking at here is an aesthetic change to your motorcycle. These really are going to keep some of the air off of your chest, maybe your shoulders. You're not going to get the benefit of having a full-on batwing on the front of your bike, but that's not really what these things are designed for. These are kind of the minimalist fairing, just designed to get the worst of the beating off of you. So let's talk about too that word I just used, the shield. Now obviously these fairings have an integrated windshield, and I'm using air quotes there because they're not really a windshield. You can't actually see them. They are completely opaque. These things are not actually windshields in the traditional sense. They merely have the appearance of a windshield. These fairings are created out of ABS plastic. Personally, I prefer that material to fiberglass. I find it's a little bit more flexible, a little bit more forgiving. For a lot of people, it can be a superior choice. The other thing that's nice about them too is they are ready for paint. So keep in mind, again, we have the windshields installed on here. Most of you will probably pull those off and leave them black. While these are in very nice shape, you can see obviously there's a very nice finish on the ABS plastic here. These things really are designed to accept paint. Even if you have a black bike, Burly is expecting you're going to blow some paint onto these. That having been said, I have seen these things next to a gloss black motorcycle. The match is very, very close. I can imagine some of you folks who are a little bit on the cheaper side, maybe pulling one of these things out, bolting it up to your forks, and not telling anybody that there's actually no paint on your fairings. I promise I won't tell either. Still though, you should account for the fact that these things are not necessarily going to come right out of the box. They're not going to be necessarily protected, so you may get some box wear, some shelf wear, because Burly is expecting that you are going to paint these things. So that moves us really into the installation aspect of things here. So installation of these is a little bit different than I first expected. These things do come with brackets. They are, again, designed to bolt up to your 35, 49mm, anything in that range. And again, they are taking into account standard Harley-Davidson spacing. There's no reason that you can't adapt one of these to another motorcycle. All of these are going to be a custom installation to some degree or another, so depending on what you're putting it on, you may have a really easy time or you may need to do a little finagling. Now these things are actually attached to your motorcycle in a way that I thought was kind of interesting, yet intriguing, but it also does kind of work. You're going to see all these radiator hose clamps up here. That's exactly what's going to hold one of these onto your motorcycle. You'll also see a stack of what appears to be heat shrink tubing. Burly is expecting you're going to slip that heat shrink tubing over your radiator clamps in order to keep them kind of looking a little bit cleaner, a little bit tighter on the bike. Again, kind of a creative mounting solution. Not necessarily the one that I would first expect to see with a fairing, but again, it helps keep the price down. Sure, there are more fancy and there are way nicer locking systems out there. They also cost hundreds of dollars more than a Burly. If you're trying to get that cool guy look and you don't necessarily need every perfect detail just right with the mounting, this actually might be the way to fly for you. So let's talk about that installation really briefly. Again, for most of you, I think it's going to be fairly simple. You're going to want your standard assortment of hand tools. You are going to have to get a little creative with a couple things. Some of you will be moving your turn signals, be rewiring a few things, maybe eliminating lights from the front of your bike. You may have a little bit of jockeying to do, rerouting cables, etc., so they're not rubbing on the fairing anywhere. I'm going to say that that's difficult 1, easy 2 beer territory, depending on exactly what you need to do to make the fairing work with your motorcycle. The thing that possibly bumps this up into 3 beer territory is, again, that paint and body work we talked about earlier. I don't think these things would need anything more than maybe a light skim coat of Bondo. If that, these things are not in bad shape at all. They are ready to accept paint, but you do actually have to blow some paint on here. It's going to be matching the paint on your bike, or perhaps pulling off your tins and repainting everything the same color, but you should plan on body and paint happening if you plan on installing one of these fairings. Now, as it stands, I gotta be honest with you, I think these are a pretty good fairing. These are a low-cost option for those of you who don't want to go out there. You don't want to spend $1 billion trying to get that cool guy club style or aggressive FXR look on your bike. However, my opinion's not the only game in town. Click that info button, see what some riders who are rocking a Burly fairing on their rig already have to say about it. Now, if you need a little bit more individualized attention, we can definitely provide that to you as well, whether it's something as simple as fitment, or maybe you want a little bit of detail about what you might have to do as far as installing one of these on your particular motorcycle. We can help. Get in touch with one of our very friendly gear geeks. See us at RevZilla.com, or you can always pick up the phone and give us a jingle, 877-792-9455. I'm Lemmy. I'm out of here.